Hi, MAT teachers. So I bet you're excited about all of the work that you have done, and you should be, and proud too, right? But maybe in this moment, what you really want are some specifics about your presentation. So let's go ahead and do that. The MAT presentation. So first, congratulations. You've done a lot of hard work, and we're really proud of all of the research, the varied reports, and we know this is going to go somewhere. So this class, as you know, was going to help you think about that, what you might do with your work and where it could go. But on to the specifics. You will have 20 minutes to present your work to the MAT candidates and other guests. At the end of the 20 minutes, there's a 10-minute question and answer period. So what you want to think about here is that your start and your finish, your opening line and your final line, and everything in between is 20 minutes. And then you have a really great 10 minutes to open to question and answer. And you know what to do there. Anticipate the questions, think about some of the answers. You could even plant a few questions. Some of the stuff you wanted to say, but you couldn't say in your 20 minutes, maybe one of your colleagues could ask that question. What's kind of important here about the question and answer period, and this seems silly, is that you want to remind yourself to say, are there any questions? And you want to remind yourself to have a closing even at the question and answer period. So you'll probably have a closing at the end of your 20 minutes that wraps up your presentation, hopefully something other than, and that's it. You'll think of a nice tight closing that makes sense. But then even at the end of the question and answer period, think about how you want to wrap that up. What is the last thing you want to say to us? And maybe even write that down for yourself too. So 20 minutes. Go ahead and time it with your friends or your colleagues or your family or whoever else will listen. This next bullet says if you need any special audiovisual equipment, let Monica know. Although we don't think that's going to be an issue, we'll be in Farmer. So this is just something if you have some different kind of special connection or you're wondering about something that is beyond the document camera, the presentation, the projector, that kind of thing. And for that audiovisual equipment, you want to make sure you have a plan A, B, and C, because you never know if your flash drive for some reason is suddenly not going to work. So maybe email it to yourself, put it on the Google Drive, have a couple plans just in case. This next bullet speaks to the idea that at some conferences, people read passages from their text and we listen. But this is OWP, right? So you want to make sure that you can present your information, that maybe your PowerPoint or your Prezi or however else you're going to share your information is giving you talking points and you're not reading it through. You should have, and this says 45 copies, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and adjust that right now because we don't need 45 copies, but 30 copies is good just in case we have some visitors and you'd want to have some. So you want to have 30 copies of a one-page handout that summarizes key questions, points, and conclusions from your work. So you can give it to your audience at the beginning of the presentation or at the end of the presentation. And this one-page handout looks different in lots of ways. This could just maybe give an outline of your presentation itself, or it could give us some key details from your research, or maybe it's actually the page where you want us to do some work. What's the activity you might have us do? What's the thinking that you're going to have us do during your presentation? You could have that on the handout. So we've seen people have a handout that actually has people fill in something from their research, or we've seen people's handout that actually has them have space to write or make a connection to their own classroom or ask questions to each other or try a craft move or any number of things, right? So go ahead and think outside of the box on this handout. What are some ways that your audience can not only get the information but possibly do something with it too? When appropriate, you should begin your presentation with a short writing assignment or other activity. Aim during the 20 minutes for as much group interaction as possible. And all that is reminding you is that You know what kind of teaching and presenting looks like and feels like. When your audience can be part of that thinking and that understanding, it's always better. Now, this little short writing assignment doesn't mean that it has to come at the very beginning of the presentation. It could come anywhere throughout. So this is just the idea that we want you to think, is there somewhere where you can get 1 to 2 minutes of us kind of moving our pencil or doing some talk with the person next to us or doing a little piece of reading so we can actually understand and see your research? Think about what is it that you want your audience to really do. Our gut reaction is to have people say, what do you think about vocabulary instruction? Or what do you know about craft? Or have you ever been in a literature circle? But I want you to examine those questions and really think about what you want your audience to do. For example, if I was thinking about literature circles, perhaps a more engaging interaction would be giving us a kind of question or a piece of text and letting us talk for a minute in a way that mimics a literature circle. So just think about what you really want the audience to do and experience in that time. A final thought about that: remember your audience. You don't have to give us 5 minutes to do something. You only have 20. We can do a lot in 2 minutes. In fact, we're an OWP audience. We can do a lot in 1 minute if you want us to. The next bullet explains that although you do want us to involve you, you should also make sure that we know your research, because that's the point of this presentation. What did you do? Why did you do it? And what did you learn? And what does that mean for later? Because that's what these 20 minutes are telling us. All the work and learning that you did over the year. What do you really want us to know about that? And what did you really learn? So the point of this presentation, for example, back to literature circles, isn't to tell us everything about literature circles and have us experience everything. Instead, it's for us to understand your research around literature circles. That's a small difference, but a really important one. In that sharing, of course, you can share with the audience where you're going to go next, because we're always looking forward. Finally, a reminder about the question and answer period, and that should be intentional. It's not only an awkward feeling when we all just stand up there and look at each other, but we don't really know when to clap, right? So if you can wrap it up and we can clap, and then you can say, are there any questions or anything you'd like me to clarify or extend? Finally, and really important, please do not run over your allotted time. And this message actually is the words from Mary Fuller, and I kept them because it's really important to know how important these words are. She says, no matter what the circumstance, it is an inexcusable professional discourtesy to use another presenter's time. If we do that, we're saying in a really clear way that what we have to say is so much more important than what somebody else has to say. And no one in this room believes that, and so we wouldn't want to inadvertently show that. So practice. And as you prepare your presentation, please feel free to contact your online advisor, contact me, contact Megan, and we can give you some help. You can share your one-pager with us and we can give you feedback. You can share your outline of your presentation and we can give you feedback. Anything that you have questions about, please, we are still here and we can help you. We're so excited for our conference that will be sure to be amazing, just like your papers were. Thank you. See you then.